Hi, it's March 1st. It's day 10,000 in the studio, and we have George on the phone. George, can you hear us? It's Tegan and Sara calling.
Hello, superstar DJs. How are you?
We're doing all right. It is day 100,000 in the studio, though, so we are getting tired and a little bored.
Dude, I would be all cabin fevery and punch drunk, and I would probably be like Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Holy crap! Yeah,
that happened
last week. It was very intense.
We actually watched The Shining and got drunk.
Well, the good thing is, at least it's not like your sisters and who have your own built-in drama and baggage to fight over.
Exactly.
Thank God. Thank God.
That's one thing we do have going for us. And it's not like we're living in a house, 6 of us women, with a constantly rotating band member coming in and out and sleeping on our couch, and then our family all decided to come down. I mean, I'm glad none of that really actually happened.
Oh, my goodness. I do not envy your position except for that part where you're a brilliant artist and somehow it'll turn into an excellent double concept album.
That's right. We're 11 days from being done. So.
You're 11 days from being a Kiss record?
Exactly.
Congratulations on your Juno nomination.
Oh, thank you.
DVD, no less.
A DVD nomination.
We had one of our managers was in town the other day, and we were like, do you think that we have a chance? And he completely deadpan, serious, was like, well, if Rush wasn't in the category, and I was just like, wow.
I will always remember the Grammy Awards when Best Metal category was up, and Metallica was nominated against Jethro Tull.
Wow.
And Jethro Tull won for Crest of a Knave, and from there on in, I just abandoned the idea of credibility in music award shows.
Yeah, it's awful. We've always been kind of not that we have anything against the Junos, though we did get shut out for 4 records in a row. We have always sort of been reluctant to do those kind of events, and not because we're against conforming or playing into pop culture and mainstream, etc., success, all that stuff. It's just because we're actually really shy and we act ridiculously out of control when we meet people that are even somewhat successful. And so it just seemed like Junos, Grammys, those kind of MTV Music Awards, did just seem like they would all be just remedy for disaster with Sara and I.
But truthfully, how much of it is because you don't know if you're going to win or not, and there's that awkward moment, and you've seen award shows, you grew up watching them, so the camera will be on your face if they say somebody else's name.
You should have seen us. Tegan and I were we were in karate for 9 years, George. I mean, we're really tough, but when we would go to those kata competitions, if I didn't win, if they gave out the trophies and I didn't win, I just went berserk.
Were you like the blonde kid in Karate Kid who had to sweep for the leg?
I've never, that sounds interesting, but I don't think I've ever seen the Karate Kid.
Oh, lady, what are you doing? What happened in your life that you haven't seen that movie?
I also haven't seen Star Wars, which a lot of people get really upset about.
Hey, you know what? You're not missing anything with Star Wars. It's just some freaky, weird people that end up getting bed sheets and pillowcases to match. No, you've got to see Karate Kid. It's like the Blues Brothers. It's one of those quintessential moments in life where your life will be better the next day.
Okay. Really? Well, maybe we'll rent it to get through these last few days here in Portland.
Does your record and do the kinds of songs you write change a little because your mood matches the weather?
Well, I can tell you that making the record in Portland was sort of is perfect. The type of record that we're making right now, working with Chris Walla, in his studio at home, we're just in a really just normal, average neighborhood. It's perfect for this record. It's just, and I know that Portland right now is super hip. There's a lot, everybody lives here, it feels like. I haven't run into a soul besides the people, the guy across the street who feeds the birds on our lawn. We haven't made a friend. Nobody's talked to us.
Come on,
a baby smiled at me recently. I almost started crying because it was the first physical contact I'd had in months.
It sounds really great. I mean, we're not the type of people that usually walk around saying that we've made the best record on earth, and this is not one of those times either, but I think it's a good record, and I think it's pretty much a necessary step for us, to take that. We really took the reins this time, and our demos were the blueprint, and Chris used a lot of our demos to build off of, and we kind of went for a more organic, but when I say organic, I don't mean sandals and socks kind of vibe,
That's awesome. Are you officially veterans now?
I think, this is
God,
we celebrated 10 years this year, and this is our 5th record, so what do you have to do to be a fucking veteran? What do you have to do to get a goddamn Juno nomination?
Well, you got it. It's just not for your record.
I was going to say that I had this moment where I thought of you about a year ago, because Tegan and I, we sat down and talked to some people about trying to do a show on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want to do a show on MTV, but our radio people, like, or our promotions people at the label or whatever, they wanted us to talk to people at MTV because they wanted to talk to us. But anyways, I thought of you because we went into this meeting and they asked us what our ideas were about if we were going to do a show.
Well, no, they told us the show that
right,
they
but
were
it was
looking
like
at.
piece of shit.
Yeah,
whatever.
we ranted and we were like, no,
we don't want to do that. So then they were like, well, what are your ideas? And it was the producers of like the Nick and Jessica show and all
Totally.
whatever.
What do you mean, who was it?
I can't remember.
I don't know. He had a tan. He kind of looked like if Ken came alive. Like if somebody sprinkled magic dust on Ken.
Was it in L.A. or New York?
It was in L.A.
Was it Rod?
I wouldn't remember.
I really don't.
So this, I think when it comes to you guys, there's a certain level of intimidation. I think the media in general is a little bit weirded out by the both of you because they don't really know how to take you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that...
Well, that's what happens when you're born with horns and a tail.
Well, we've tranquilized Tegan now, so she's not going to be doing a lot of interviews anymore. There's an intimidation about family members. Like, you know when you meet people that are like, when you're at a wedding and people are getting married and there's this sort of elite feeling about people, like, when they're kind of away from the group, there's an intimacy, there's a bond being... made, or there's a bond between family members that you as an outsider can feel whether people say it or not. And I know that Tegan and I have that vibe. Like, they don't necessarily want to break the chain because we're sisters and they know they can feel that between us.
Well, it can't. You just can't, no matter what happens, no matter how you girls are to each other.
Yeah.
They can't get inside that.
It's true.
They're automatically going to be an outsider, and there's going to be people who are okay with it, and there's going to be a lot of people who just aren't okay with it because they don't know what to do.
It's true, and I think on some level, like, although I think we have a really great relationship with, like, everyone we work with, there's been times where, definitely not on the last record, but I remember on our previous record, on If It Was You, Tegan and I literally physically going into to our hotel room and beating the crap out of each other, like wrestling around and screaming and whatever, and we would get back into the van the next day, and everyone would know because we were in these shitty hotel rooms and everyone could hear, like, every word.
It's amazing.
And they wouldn't say anything. Like, they would just be like, morning. And we'd be like, we just fought all night long, like it's like they heard us having sex or something. It was so intimate, and they were, but it was like they were witness to something that was so intense and out of control, and they couldn't say anything, like they couldn't do anything.
But they fought once, like our drummer and bass player fought once, and we were like, you fight again like that, like, and they threw shit at each other, like broke a lamp in a hotel room. We were like, you're done.
Yeah, like we were like, we
but
said...
with us, you have to put up with a lot. We had a tour manager who said once after working with us that he had to go to therapy because it was so psychologically, like crazy and, like, fucked him up to, like, watch us scream hysterically.
We don't do that anymore.
It's something that we work on. Like, there's nothing to prepare you for working with a family member under such, like, close quarters, except growing up. And what do you do growing up with your siblings? You beat the shit out of them and you fucking hate them and you can't wait to get out of the house. And then instead of doing that, we just moved into a band with each other, and now our whole lives are intertwined. Everything I ever am it's going to be Tegan and Sara. I'll never have anything that's just mine. Even my fucking mortgage has Sara's name on it.
If you got an STD or something.
No. Obviously, I'm a really big fan of what you do, but I also recognize that every single thing that's good stops.
Yeah.
And 5 records is I mean, I don't want you to stop making records because I like them, and I think that the genius... And there's a handful of bands who can do what you do, but the way that I would describe it to somebody is that I'm as comfortable listening to your record at 3 in the afternoon as I am at 3 in the morning.
Right.
And I think, and I get completely different feelings from it both times. Mm-hmm. But in order for you to be able to do that to me, to connect with me, that means you have to be able to connect within yourselves in a certain way, and you can't do that all the time. Eventually, you just can't go back to the well.
That's true.
There's definitely moments where, it seems as if, like, it seems inevitable that we'll come off the tracks, but I think that the thing that we're worst at is almost the thing we're the best at too, which is that we are terrible about taking time away from this world, from our music. Like, Sara calls us addicts. I mean, there's been only a few days at a time that I've gone without playing guitar in the last, like, 14 years, and not because I like to jam, but because, like, it's a little bit like a fix, I like to we write very emotional, self-absorbed, songs, and there's something extremely gratifying about sitting down and being emotional and pathetic and, having these highs and lows, and listening to our records. I can see that, like, we're still very much
self-reflective.
What do you call it? What?
Well, I generally wouldn't refer to myself as being pathetic. I like to think of it as introspection.
Right, whatever.